Welcome to the Günther Fehlinger podcast. Our podcast is developing very well. I want to thank especially the Iranians who are listening in, because now at my X account I had more than 2,000 new followers, and mainly Iranians who are following our activity for the support of the Iranian people. And of course, this is now the world's focus. This is what the free world really needs. It's regime change in Iran, democracy and freedom in Iran. And that's why also thanks everybody who is following our work here. We have now 135,000 followers on X at the X account, and also 16,000 we have crossed at the YouTube channel. And our podcast, of course, develops with our guests, and we have very prominent leader of the Iranian freedom community here in Austria, Shiva. It's very good that you're here and this morning with us to explain the situation. It's a very dramatic situation at the moment for the Iranians there are so many killed, and there are so many victims of the tyrant of Tehran. And now I would like to welcome you first of all, and also please introduce yourself, who you are, what you're doing. We met on the demonstrations now at the beginning of the year. You have organized major demonstrations here in Vienna, and I'm very honored that you're here with us this morning. Shiva, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Austria. Let's say that, and everyone in the world. Thank you for inviting me, first of all. It's an honor to be a patriot in the first place. And also, it is good that people understand wherever you are, in any land you live, you belong to that land. Even I feel that for Austria, because I'm also Austrian-Iranian. When I care about Iran in my heart, I care about the outside of the border as well. That means, for me, Austria. So both they're in one place at this moment. I've been active since 2000, almost 14, let's say. And this have been happening in Iran. There were several uprisings. There have been many demonstrations, and there have been many people killed. And let's be really honest, this has been happening since 1979. I've never wanted to be an activist. I've never wanted to involve myself in politics at all. But we had some activists that they were killed also in Germany. His name was Feridun Farrokhzad. They were calling him Ferry. You should also search him. He started politics as well in Germany, and his thesis was on Marxism. They killed him in Germany because of his activity as an activist, political activist.
You mean who?
The Islamic Republic
They kill people in the European Union and Germany as well?
Yes.
Oh, that's an outrage.
Yes, and nobody talks about it, and his family also stays silent. The lives are in danger, people are threatened, and sometimes I guess people think we are an activist just to show ourselves or to get credits out of it. But I tell you something, each and every Iranian after 1979, they're somehow politically affected. When they don't get a visa to travel, when they can't go to US because their country is listed as a terror organization, and the people are not the system, they're not the regime. We are different. And you know, in Austria, they always call us, bist du Perser? They know who we are. We are Persians, we are Iranians, our country is Iran. And they have the memories of the past, the dignity that we have. And since 1979, almost every Iranian is affected by the regime. I myself, I'm a pharmacist, and I also work in a pharma industry in Austria. I also worked in the big hospital of Vienna as well. So I'm medically dedicated to the citizen of Austria as well. And I know when someone is killed, dead, shot, what does it mean when there is no healthcare around them?
Shiva, you are one of the many Iranians actually in Austria. There's a big community, and many of them are in healthcare, and our healthcare system very much depends on many successful Iranians. Tell me about yourself as well. Are you from your parents' generation, come from Iran, from 79, or were you born in Austria or in Iran? What's your background?
I was born in Iran. I was raised in Iran since the teenage time. And when I was a teenager, I had quarrels, let's say, at school with the system as well. Then my parents decided and said, you have to leave the country, because if you stay, you know what happens to you. I was vocal. I was not staying silent, and I didn't like the system, and I didn't like the way they were treating people at school, especially our generation as teenagers.
Tell us about when was that, in the 2010s or?
Let's say 2007. It started in 2007, the whole story. And 2009 was the last time I left Iran. And I didn't come to Austria. I went to India to study there. And then from India, I came to Austria. So very long journey, interesting journey. And my mother herself studied politics. And my father is an engineer, a civil engineer. And we are from educated family, of course. And
In Tehran?
yes, and I'm very happy that although my parents were an intellectual, they never involved themselves in the political matters at all. They never wanted to invade a country or damage a country. My father gave a lot of services to the country. And when there was an Iran-Iraq war, any Iranian wanted to help Iran. And he was also one of them who wanted to help. But you know, they don't want you to be a patriot. They don't want you to help the country in any way. They want to damage Iran. This is sincere, and you see it. They don't give the land back to the people. They don't give the country back to the people. They don't want to have a system and a structure. Like in their mentality and ideology, nothing as a system or structure work other than a dictatorship structured. And I guess you know what I'm talking about.
Tell us a little bit, explain us how the school system is for women in Iran. What was your personal experience? Why did you basically not fit into that system? Where was this moment you decided you have to leave?
See, they make the children, let's start from the school from 7, 8. They make you sing an anthem, yeah, for the Islamic Republic. And in a way, you have to chant that to America, that to Israel. So
So for the children there in the school in the morning, instead of a prayer or something, you have to chant death to America, death to Israel. That's basically the school obligation.
yeah. And they were always having the flag of Israel or America on the ground, and they're making you to walk on top of it.
That's kind of the school ritual in the morning. You have to trample over the American and Israeli flag.
Yes. And this is very, you know, when you're a child, you're just 7, 8 year old, you don't understand what you're doing, you know. This is the problem, that since you're at a school, they're raising you with their own system. And when I see that at times also, even in Austria, that there are people that we have to respect them, I understand. But sometimes the democracy has to understand some ideologies cannot be respected, and it's not democratic to respect it. It's not democratic to tell people, you know, you can't say that to America, and we have to train you to educate you. How can you train a person whose ideology is built like that?
So they were training you in hatred, basically. And
Let's
you
say
somehow had an internal aversion against that, or you didn't?
yes, because you know my family were always at home. We were always talking about what's happening in the society, people getting killed, and my mother was always explaining what happened in 1979 on the streets, and even years before that, she was explaining what's happening at the universities. Because you know, the Shah of Iran sent people with a scholarship to Europe, to America, so that they get education. They came to Europe, and they thought the Europe is like, you know, much more educated or faster than Iran. And they started comparing these two matter with each other. And, you know, those timings, people are into, you know, Marxism, left ideology, and communism. And this whole, you know, some of them are really like slogan. In reality, they're not implementable. You cannot implement them. And the Shah of Iran, his father, Reza Shah, the Great, when he took the land, he was trying to establish, you know, in Austria we have university, Vienna. It is now over 650 years established, right? Our first university is now established like less than 100 years. So that means the fastest that the Mohammad Reza Shah could do is to establish universities immediately, send these people abroad to get educated, to come back, to build the country. And he had several speeches also in the, Senate and Parliament, and said, what should we do? Should we send our children abroad so that they stay there and don't come back to the country to build the country? We have to send them. So he was trying to educate people because, let's be really honest, some countries are behind some, plannings in the world. And Iran suddenly became modern. And this fast modernization was really, I would say, it was not for everyone. We needed some cultural practices. That's why the wife of the Mohammad Reza Shah, the Queen of Iran, Shabanu Farah, she also visited our parliament in Austria years ago. She started all the cultural program for the women at a school, teaching them, how to talk to people, train them where what needs to be behaved. At a school, they were telling women, how to dress up, how the uniform needs to be, and everyone were coming dressed up at a school. When you see the photos that you see get uploaded on X, that they're comparing these to, let's say, timings. You see, there is some drift and shift suddenly that, as a modern country, and suddenly you make them to wear a scarf. When the Reza Shah that time actually said, remove the scarf. This removing the scarf for some religious people is like, oh, they want to take the scarf from our head. No, it's that the ideology needs to get out of your head. This is the concept behind it, and that's how they make Iran become modern. And my family's, my mom, as I told you, was studying political science, so books were definitely at home. So she was reading books, and she was explaining to me, we have geography, we have history as a lesson. And sometimes I had to get help. I was like, okay, they ask us to, to have this, assignment. And my mom said, before you write the assignment, you need to understand what happened that time. So, she was reading the book, of course, taking some, tasks for me to read them. And we were talking to each other. So, of course, I was impacted. I was in 2 different diaspora, going out of school, seeing what's happening there, and then coming home, and then you see they telling you history. So you somehow get confused.
I want to understand the moment where you were going basically in school in an authoritarian system, where they were teaching you hatred to America and Israel, and they were asking you to behave in a certain way. And there must have been some kind of moment of conflict where you were rebelling or you were somehow getting conflict with the teacher. Where was this moment when you want to describe it? I think it would be very meaningful to understand why you actually had to leave then, or your parents sent you out of Iran.
That's a very good question, because I have to really tell you, sometimes in psychology also you have to get hit in one moment to change something, right? I believe the moment this conflict was escalated, they ask you to choose someone as your religious person to follow. I came home and I asked my parents, I said, they're asking us to follow someone, to follow someone's ideology. Because
you mean to name some Ayatollah who is your favorite Ayatollah, like your holy man whose role model you want to
guide
follow,
you,
to guide you spiritual.
Yes. So for me, this itself was a question that, hey, I'm at a school, I'm learning lessons, I want to become I knew I have to become a doctor, a dentist, something, because, it's in our genes somehow. And I was like, I'm preparing for that. And they're pushing for this matter. This is insane. This was insane. And I told my mom, I'm not giving name. And my mom said, Shiva, you have to give some name. I said, I'm not giving any name because, see, I see you and my father, you're not forcing me for anything or to anything, and they're forcing me to choose that. And my mom said, just give a name and just get rid of this matter. I was like, I'm not leaving it at that. No, I'm not. And I went to school, and again, this teacher, of course, she was wearing hijab because they're responsible for teaching a religious lesson. We have it as a compulsory, syllabus. And she said, "Okay, Shiva, who's the person you want to choose?" I said, "Nobody." And she said, "You have to choose somebody." I was like, "Listen, I have a family member. He was Christian, and he never told me what to do and not to do. And he's praying to Christ. And let's say I'm a Muslim, let's say that, because, when you're born, automatically they say you're a Muslim in Iran right now. I was like, let's say I'm a Muslim. I can be a peaceful Muslim, not following anybody and believing in God. What's the problem with that?" So, the quarrel was going back and forth, and the conflict started there, indeed.
You said that in the gymnasium, in the high school in Iran,
Yes.
you told them that your family is Christian and that you don't want to choose your
Just a family
Ayatollah.
member, just a family member was a Christian, so I was seeing how he's, practicing.
Okay, that was very courageous. I guess
Yes.
it was risky to do.
Because, even now,
And then you were blacklisted, basically.
somehow the teasing started there. See, my parents also now pray, do you know that? They believe in God. We have no problem, I've seen a lot of Christians, Jews, Muslim living peacefully. We have some people like that. You see, there are also some in region of Emirates. They're educated. They have their own, let's say, dress code, but they don't push people to do, forcefully choose somebody. Even I've seen an interview, a Qatari person, or it was from Oman, I don't remember. He said, "It's funny, Muhammad came from here, yeah? We don't know what the Ayatollah wants from us. They don't let us also practice our own religion."
So you were already very freedom-spirited back in the high school in Tehran, and now you are Austrian-Iranian political activist. Did you start in 2026 with this 3 or 4 major demonstrations in front of the parliament and at the main place of the Austrian Hero Square where I met you, or did you start already several years ago?
I started in 2022. 22, I decided to come public, because before that, I was just active on X. I was book holder, I had spaces, I was talking. We were writing articles, but I never came, front line. But during the Mahsa Amini, because I have a niece myself, I've seen so many children getting killed, and they were beautiful children. When you
mean your schoolmates of your class or some
they
others?
they could be my classmate, they could be my sister, they could be my cousin, they could be my niece. But exactly one person, her name is Nika Shakarami. The way she was killed, technically murdered, they raped her, they hit her several times on her head, and they threw her body somewhere in the alley. And when you look at that picture, you should be inhuman not to be changed, I started crying a lot. And I said, it's time to confront. You have to act.
Explain a little bit this immense brutality against women, which we see. It's for me very unexplainable, because the idea when you have police is there to protect the people. It's in police custody. The idea in Austria is that you are safe because they are your friends and helpers. They are keeping up the law. Why is this immense brutality of the police forces of this tyranny of Iran? Why are they so aggressive and brutal, violent against women?
I guess beginning of 1979, if you read the history, they took the country with weapon forcefully, and they also practiced how to kill people. There are evident documents from those who are now the head of the universities teaching politics in London, in UK that time, like 1968, 1969, before the revolution technically happened. They themselves said it on camera that we were getting trained. We were practicing how to, take the country down. In the blood of the system that is born, terrorism is there. They are harsh, I would say. And as you know, you called it a tyranny, is a dictatorship. And let's look at it from European angle, they say, is a system, is a structure. I do understand we want to look at it that way, but we also need to understand where does that system come from, how is built, and is built on what. When those timings, we had Kaisers in Austria and we had kings, some people had, I don't know, different names, lords. They were going to get the countries, and this was in the humanities nature, those timings. I'm saying when we were not, modern democracy was not there, existed years ago, let's talk about 500 years ago, okay? This was in the blood of everyone, to battle with each other, gladiator, and things like that. And then slowly they decided to change that. By some, this hasn't changed indeed. They still think that forcefully killing people is a system, is a manner, let's say.
So they have built a tyranny based on fear, on torture, on oppression. That's the standard of such tyrannical system. But I want to understand, is this specific kind of violence against women, is it random acts of police officers who are just sexual predators, or is it a state-sanctioned kind of tool to humiliate independent women? Is it a kind of weapon of war and of suppression which is basically politically sanctioned and demanded of the police officers? Or is it just random acts of violence against women?
I don't mind saying combination of all of it. Depends how they use it and where to use it. This is my top answer. But at the moment, I would say every situation that happens, to some, uprisings, we see the documents coming from the police departments, structuring, saying how things needs to be done, when needs to be done. Now you have to put, maximum suppression. At times we've seen some good people saying no to them. They also got killed. They also got eliminated. So I mean, there are good people always in any system that they want to change the system, but they were alone. In 2009, during the Green Movement, let's say Green Uprising, many elites, educated people got out of the country. So me existing, at that time I remember a year before that I already left Iran. But this peak of time, there have been many people left Iran because that was the last moment that they changed their mind because they stole the vote of the people. So there were huge numbers, millions on the street saying, return the vote to the people. Now we call it, there was a reform. People wanted to reform. I don't believe you can reform a tyranny. How can you reform a tyranny when it's built by blood and suppression, killing? And
this was the 2009 revolution, which already, basically the Iranians are since 2009 constantly in revolution against
exactly. We had different peaks of time after that, 2012, 2015, 16, and then now we reached to 2026. It's getting, even when you look at the peak, it's getting faster, Initially, maybe it was like 10-year gap, but now it's getting, from Massa till now, it's almost 2.5 years.
So this last 2.5 years, you became the frontline person of the Iranians in Austria, and you have taken on the battle also in the political arena, if I can say so. And please tell us a little bit about the reception of the Iranian women, the Iranian freedom fighters in the last 2 years in Austria. How was the media responding to you? How were the political elites and the Austrian public responding to the plight of the Iranian women since 2022? And how is your assessment of the response?
Well, we have to open two chapters here because that's a time that we have to talk about what we think as an Austrian and what I expect as an Iranian. You know, there are two, let's say there's like two theater salon, A, B, and I'm seeing two different things happening at the same time. In theater A, let's say is Austria, and theater B is Iran, okay? When people are getting shot, killed, murdered, raped indeed, in theater A, they write about just the bravery, which is good. I don't mind that. You know, we have to talk about it. But then the feminists come along, you know, to play around the scenario. We know that alongside with us, you see the number of executions, right? There are also men getting executed. See, they cannot officially execute women. There have been cases, they've been doing that to Baha'i people as well, women. There is a particular date for that. We've seen they've done that. But the number of men getting executed is also high enough that you can say, okay, stop it. But dancing around the scenario of feminism and not talking about the reality of really what the women are facing and what women want, it's very difficult because right now we have that conflict as well in this revolution. During the Women Life Freedom, everyone chanted on the street, Women Life Freedom. And afterwards, the whole feminist movements and the human rights activists and everyone, they intruded the nature of the revolution. Of course, the women were there, but the men were also there. The kids were also there. A 7-year-old kid was, the kid was dead, 7. So, if you make it all about women, like today you just said, we have a great person like Otusa as well as a woman. We have many other women. We're all with each other fighting, But sometimes, in a racing, you race, you take off because you have to do something. There have been some takeoffs from my hand doing it because you need to be bold. You have to be a little bit loud. And with my own background, at the moment, I'm louder because I don't like to play around with the card of democracy because some stuffs cannot be resolved only with the word of democracy. You have to go in the nature of it. That means when you are dealing with a tyrant, either you leave it, just like North Korea, nobody can do anything about it. But here, there is a window that you can help people. There is a window that you decide that Iranian people themselves are democratic, okay? They're good people, they're not like the system. Let's go save them. But if you
Have you been, Shiva, satisfied with the response of the Austrian media, of the Austrian institutions during the last 3 years towards the Iranian population? Because I remember there were many efforts actually from the Austrian government to basically appease the Iranian dictatorship, and there were many visits with the foreign minister. There was all these negotiations in Vienna about this treaty on the nuclear weapons. And there was a little bit of an effort, I think actually a strong effort from Austria, to be very close to the Iranian regime.
This is exactly the dissatisfactory moment for the Iranians. They have tried their level best. You just said it. We know it. Our issue is when they were the title coming out of the media, the deep inside, the content inside was not matching with that theater B that I'm explaining it to you. They were seeing it from their own side, And this phase of window, which is very far from each other, brings dissatisfactory to the nation. Even right now, Sunday there was a demonstration there was some press there. I talked to them because last week the Zeitbild
This
just
is the main Austrian TV news in the evening.
exactly. They wrote an article. There was a demo happening also on, I guess, Thursday or Friday of the last week of that. They were like the Amnesty Austria there, candling, candles. And here there was a demo that people had the flag of Iran that you see, lion and sun flag. And they were banned to come there and even light candles. And there is a video, a woman talking to the police officer saying, why I'm not allowed there? He said, they told us not to come there with your flags. And, you have the rights to tell who comes and not to come. But it is very interesting to see that the head of a human rights organization is banning the Iranian people to come and do that. And the inciting bill, right? Okay, there were two groups of people. There were the monarchists, those who want monarchy. And here there were the democratic people. We both know what that does mean. I mean, they're not democratic. They were the democratic one. This brings dissatisfactory. This brings separation. This brings issues. We don't want any issue. We want the story to be told. I talked to press on Sunday. I told them, if you don't write what's happening now, I tell you something, Iran would be free one day. And we are all alive, hopefully. And we are seeing what you're documenting. They're saying Javid Shah. Okay, forget about the first word Javid. Maybe you don't understand or anybody understands. But everyone...
Javid, I have to explain, it means glory to the king, long live the king.
Yeah.
That's basically the slogan of the pro-freedom Iranian demonstrators, which are then in the Austrian context called monarchists and then divided up against the Democrats, which are mostly from the left. And so this is the portray, and it's a misportraying of the reality of the pro-Iranian freedom demonstrators, which we have at the moment in the Austrian media, which is a big problem.
It's a big problem because, let me just, for the audience, explain. When you say, long live the Shah, is different from long live the king. Our Shah was not the king. See, king, you should have a kingdom of Britain, right? We had the monarchy, that's true, because we had the monarchy. We cannot deny that. We had the monarchy. The Shah of Iran, because when you say people Shah, they understand what Shah means because he visited almost the world, even US, even with Nixon and many other people. So we know that the Shah of Iran, he is the symbol of modernization. He didn't want the kingdom. He didn't want to rule. He wanted to make the country. As you see, the slogan of Trump, make America great again. And we can also make Austria great again. And we can make Iran great again. And you can make any land great again if you want to make it better. So when you say again, means something bad has been happening that I want to get it back to the track. Because to be really honest, we might be proud of some leaders in the world, but they have also done nasty jobs. Like during all these uprisings, 2009, when people were on the streets, they got killed, shot. What did Obama say? He did nothing.
Very little. As always, he has been inactive. And he is one of the key reasons why we are in such a complicated situation, because he was basically withdrawing America from the rest of the world and let everything be managed by Russia and China, which is a major problem.
Exactly.
But you're saying basically that the left-wing Austrian-dominated media is preferring basically the anti-Shah opposition to the pro-Shah opposition, basically, because of their own biases against America and against monarchy. They are interpreting the situation in Iran wrongly.
Yeah, very wrongly. See, because there have been two big press conferences. This is exactly what I told the press on Sunday. There have been two big press conferences with Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi at this moment. And you can also call him Reza Pahlavi you want, because he said everyone are free to call me whatever. And some people call him Reza, some people call him Shah. And
Mr. Pahlavi.
Mr. Pahlavi, exactly. You can call him
way.
exactly. He had two big press conferences. They were from France, from Germany, America, everywhere. No Austrian was there. Why don't you guys go there? Why don't we communicate with him? Why don't we see what he's doing? Because, he has four major, let's say, plan, which is very democratic, unlike what they're saying. Let's start with it. Territorial integrity. You and me as an Austrian, do you like our country getting invaded or separated or getting divided to pieces? No. Everyone likes the territorial integrity to remain intact. That means you're a patriot. That's good. The second point, he believes that people of Iran at the moment, due to all this tyranny that we are talking, the religious problem, mullahs invading the political system, we need a secular, democratic country. That's true. We need democracy, because without democracy...
Everybody should agree with that one. Democracy, freedom for Iran.
And
From the left,
secularism.
from the right. Even the Austrian media should agree with that.
And the third point, referendum. What's wrong with the referendum? Let me just explain it to you what happened in 1979. In 1979, when the France sent Khomeini to Iran, they didn't say, come choose the system of the government. They said, okay, guys, that's Khomeini. Let's say yes or no. You want him or not? Islamic Republic. People voted wrongly, in a very wrongly manner. We understand how politics works. You cannot choose an ideology or system and put it for vote. You cannot vote for everything. We keep voting sometimes. But honestly, some stuff cannot be voted to. This one exactly. They said yes or no to Islamic Republic of Iran. The system was already chosen. You just had two options, yes or no. And now, this person, as you said, Mr. Pahlavi, my crown prince and everyone's crown prince said, guys, let's have a referendum. Last option.
We had that, for example, in Italy after the Second World War. We have, by the way, also a monarchy in Spain introduced after authoritarian system, and it's a member of the UN, NATO in Spain, obviously. So, Shiva, let me ask you, have you been invited already to the Austrian state broadcaster, to the ORF, to represent the Freedom for Iran case? You are the leading person. You have organized 3 major demonstrations. I personally witnessed it, but many others maybe as well. Have you been already invited to the ORF?
2 times since 2022. And afterwards, I myself have received invitations. I stopped going.
You decided not to go?
Yeah, there was no point. You know what? Because when I saw my interviews, not just in Austria, everywhere also, getting cut from beginning and then in the middle and then in the end, I have a video to show you. Indeed,
They manipulated your presence.
I don't want to call that manipulated, but there's a preference. Let's say there's a preference to just talk about just to talk about democracy, as you see the title. I don't know whether you see the title of the newspaper. They just write Iranian freedom fighters, Iranian seeking democracy on the streets, Iranian saying mullahs are dictators or whatever. The titles are, to me, are sickening and sad.
Why?
I have...
Explain.
Because you have to say that people of Iran are tired of the system, no matter how you're deep involved with them. And I know that democracy obligates our Austrian government to work with them because they want to, teach them democracy. But it has reached to the limit now that you have to accept to ban them to be in the platforms that they are not supposed to be. They were getting invited to Davos. You saw that. It got canceled. We want that. We don't want them to have the platform anymore because there's an institution also in US called NIAC, You might have heard it or not.
No.
That's a national institution for practicing, let's say, Iranian American democracy in US. And everyone has the right to have their own institution. Throughout all these uprisings, they were the lobbyists of the Islamic Republic down there, and they were somehow downgrading what's happening in Iran. We always say they were trying to mispresent what's happening. And when they were forcing women to wear a scarf, we say compulsory hijab, let's say, they were coming to the media, CNN, Fox News, ABC, everywhere. They were saying, this is the rule of the country. And everyone were accepting that. They would say, yeah, this is the rule of the country. I mean, yeah, people have problem with that rule of country. That's why we want.
So that's basically the state of Iran lobby in the United States. Is there a similar body like this in Austria?
Oh, yeah.
Or yes, explain me a little bit. How is the Iranian regime represented in Austria, and has Austria already acted against the representatives of the Iranian regime in the last years?
My belief and my understanding from what I'm seeing is lack of information from Austrian side. Because there have been talks that we had explaining, hey, this letter that you have received, it's from association, let's say NIAC. We call them NIAC because they're from NIAC. It's from them. They're the reformists. They want to reform the system. And honestly, even though I show you the letter as an Austrian, pure Austrian, okay, it's someone who's not Iranian Austrian, you would say, okay, this letter is very beautiful. It's talking about democracy. What's wrong with that? You cannot identify them very fast, They come in the nature of human rights activists. They come in nature of democratic people. But when you have to talk to them and negotiate with them about something, you understand, oh, they're bonded to the system. And they're everywhere. They are in, let's say, industry of, from, I don't know, pharma, let's say, to oil. They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
They have a lot of financial clout, obviously, the regime representative. And recently in the media was also that Austria, Vienna, is a center of the Iranian state regime money laundering, and that a lot of money from the Iranians, from the state, is basically in Vienna. Do you have any information about this one?
I've read that also in the news. And also I read another thing that they said the most of the spies of the world, they're located in Austria among us.
Because we are the headquarter of OPEC, of this organization where Iran is a very powerful member, and they are taking a lot of premiums of the European consumers by charging high oil prices. And of course, there's a lot of money laundering involved in that one. Unfortunately,
we have United Nations when it comes to human rights.
And the Atomic Energy Commission
that as well.
is also very important for Iran. So there must be a very big presence of Iranian diplomats in Vienna.
Yeah, a lot.
Has the Austrian government already sent some of the Iranian diplomats packing after now this de facto genocide which the Iranian regime has committed against the people in the last 2 weeks? Have they already expelled some of the diplomats?
No.
Do you think it's a good idea that they send some of the diplomats packing?
We had, during the Massa Amini Uprising, we had this discussion with some of the parliament member. We talked about it. They said this needs to be decided within the whole European Union. And our country, Switzerland and Austria, we are neutral regarding some, terms. What is very important for me that they understand they have to do that. This is good news.
But we also sent some Russian diplomats outside of Austria, and all European Union countries did that since the start of the war of aggression of Russia in 22. But did we send also some Iranian diplomats outside?
No. Indeed.
So we are the center of money laundering for Iran. We are the center of spying for Iran, center of diplomacy for Iran. We didn't send anybody out. They are killing the women. They are killing now the mass demonstrations. They are shooting with the machine guns into the people. And Austria keeps the diplomats here.
That's what I'm saying. People are tired.
Did you ever meet our former Foreign Minister Schallenberg, who made many photos with Iranian government representatives? I forwarded and posted them on my X account in 2015, 17, 18. He was always very keen to have smiling photos with the former Foreign Minister of Iran. I forgot his name, Javier or somehow. And he always had these photos, and I always criticized him. What's our business with the Iranian ayatollahs? But seemingly he was very keen of that. And it has maybe changed now. He's no longer in charge. Now is Beate Meindl-Reisinger. Have you met her already?
We have different, political parties, of course. There are some Iranians active in NEOS. They have met with her.
That's the Liberal Party.
Yes, they have met last week of 2025 in December. They already had a talk regarding this matter because, I don't want to intervene within the political parties because I'm also a member of some political party. We sent our message to her because they had a meeting. I said, please ask her what's your insight right now. And the response that I have received is that the Iranians don't have a leader for this revolution.
But the Mr. Reza Pahlavi is more or less the spokesman of the Iranian opposition for the global media.
Exactly.
He's everywhere in the media scam. And Austria has decided there's no leader.
Yes. So
good information in the foreign ministry. They don't watch CNN.
No, I don't think so. This is something I'm saying. They should come on the press. They should come on the front, get involved to see what's happening. We cannot be in our own bubble, doing nothing indeed.
But at least Mrs. Meindl-Reisinger doesn't make any photos anymore with ayatollahs. Yeah?
This is a good point.
It's a good point. But Mr. Schallenberg did that many times. And I forwarded many on my X account. And I was always very much against that. And I didn't understand what is Volkspartei doing with the ayatollahs.
This is also,
it was a mystery for me.
Still is a mystery and will remain as a mystery, but something is clear, I'm telling you. We, the Europeans, want to practice democracy. That's what I'm saying. We want to practice democracy in theater A. We don't
only
care.
For us. For the Iranians, no democracy.
Exactly.
For the Iranians, it's okay to be under the ayatollahs, to be cut off the hands, and the women must be tortured, and that's fine for Austria.
And it doesn't matter what's happening in theater B.
As long as you send oil.
That's one point. And many other things, I guess.
That's a very miserable position.
That's why,
It's called realpolitik, maybe.
It is a realpolitik. That's why I'm saying.
And where it leads to? To mass shootings in Tehran.
Massacre.
And to war and disaster. We should have maybe learned from our policy mistakes towards Russia and not have repeated them in the case of Iran, but we did.
And we are repeating the same mistake. I'm saying it's getting too late. We need to talk to Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. It doesn't matter. He's a very democratic person. I know that. Mrs.
Meindl-Reisinger has now in the National Day of Ukraine, she has had the Vyshyvanka, that's the traditional dress of the Ukrainians. She was heavily criticized by the friends of Putin in Austria, but it was seen as a courageous move, and she went twice to Ukraine now, and she is now seen as Austria has basically changed from anti-Ukraine to pro-Ukraine with her presence in foreign policy. And she has also been, for example, talking at the demonstration of the Serbian students who are protesting against this semi-authoritarian regime of Mr. Vucic. Yeah? She has been there as well. Has she already spoken at one of your rallies here in Vienna for women's rights in 22? Or has she already now given you an audience as Iranian opposition here in the last year, in the last months, in the last moments?
She has commented. She has also accepted political sponsorship during 2022. The representative of the NEOS, Mr. Helmut Brandstetter, was on the demos from NEOS since that timing till now. From SPO we had, from Greens we have. I haven't seen her during these rallies. Of course, her position has changed since that time. But it would be great that the Austrian government realizes that there is a demand. They have to practice democracy and respect what people want. Because, see, as an Austrian-Iranian, even I don't know what happened in the future, even I'm allowed to vote or not, honestly. I don't know what happens during the referendum based on the law or something. I don't know whether I would go back to Iran immediately, we don't know that. So that's why I'm trying to be really straightforward to our Austrian government. Okay, since I don't have a government to support me right now, that these people, Ayatollahs, are not our government. So Austria is now the government that I'm living in that country. Sometimes you can save people and practice democracy in another way, just to hear them. Because it's not up to us to vote. It's not up to us to choose the type of system that people of Iran prefer. You have to see what suits them, what is much more, accepted there. Therefore, it's now time that every government see what's happening on the streets of their own country, as we are seeing.
Do you see such reactions from the Austrian government now?
We are hoping. We are hoping.
Because on Sunday at your demonstration, I was personally there as well, and I saw that from the Austrian political leadership, it means from the parliamentarians, there was only one parliamentarian. It was Andreas Minich from the Austrian People's Party, from the Conservative Party. He was from the EPP. He was giving a speech, but there was nobody from NEOS, there was nobody from Social Democrats, there was nobody from the Greens. So I was wondering why is only one member of the Austrian People's Party speaking very clear for the Iranians and for democracy and for freedom. He was giving a powerful speech at this Heldenplatz, and there was only one representative. So in the case of Ukrainian demonstrations, because I also go to all the Ukrainian demonstrations, it's always the four democratic parties, like not the FPÖ, because they are beyond, but the four democratic parties, European parties, the Greens, the Liberals, the Social Democrats, the Christian Democrats, ÖVP, they're all there and they speak together. So why is this only the ÖVP who is really for, and this one member, Andreas Minich, for the freedom of the Iranians?
Last week, I guess you remember, we were in front of Parliament and Helmut Brandstätter came from NEOS.
So from the Liberals as well?
Yes.
So where are the Social Democrats?
That's the question. That's what I'm also demanding.
I want to know the answer.
Me too. And from Greens, that they had a speech during the last week. It was not welcome. I tell you something. The left part of the political party, whatever things suits Austria, they shouldn't try to implement that for Iranians. At the moment, they understand what democracy is, but their demand is regime change. That means this sentimentalism of human rights, oh, women died, we are sad, we are very sad. At this moment, this scenario is not working for the people. And maybe they think...
So it's not enough to be for women's rights and be sad about the victims, but you have to also have an alternative, an acting alternative. And the case
You have to push boundaries. You have to push boundaries.
Call for regime change, Actually, Andreas Minich did that from the Austrian People's Party. Did the other parties, they are not ready for that?
We have to make them get ready. That's what we are trying to do together with Andreas and some others. And hoping really this week we have a session to talk about it with other political parties, especially at the Social Democratic Party, because if they're standing, because they are the symbol of democracy, this is what happened in Austria, when you refer to the history. If they want democracy for our land, Iran, they want it for Austria as well. So we have to act democratic. That means we have to hear them. We don't need sincerely to accept it. Maybe it's not accepted by us as an Austrian, but this is for them. We have to respect that. It's regime change for them. They don't want the dictators. At least we all agree that we don't want a dictatorship.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody should
until unless they don't believe that the system is a dictator.
I think even nobody wants a dictatorship. Even I wouldn't suppose nobody from the Greens, Liberals, or
exactly. That's why I say we are on the same point.
I was in a workshop, a book presentation of one gentleman from Austrian-Iranian like you. He was with a parliamentarian delegation in Iran. It must have been 7, 8 years ago. And then he was basically the Mr. Fix-It. He helped them to make meetings, and he was organizing, traveling with them, because he is one of the personalities of Austrian-Iranian businessmen. He was traveling with them, and this was a very big success. Austrian parliamentarian delegation was there. And then half a year later, he went to Iran, and then he was jailed. Yeah? He was jailed for 7 long years by the Iranian terror regime, and they were basically taking him as a hostage. Yeah? And
Yeah, no.
maybe you know the
Yes.
case, and the book is now out. I hope he will come to this podcast as well in the future, Kamberi, this gentleman. And 7 years in a prison for what? For being a friend of Austria and being friendly with the parliamentarians, and then taking hostage by the Iranian regime. That's really appalling. That's such a kind of a terror regime that is. Yeah. And tell me, there was parliamentarians from all party, but the FPÖ, the Friends of Putin, were not there. But I thought that these same parliamentarians, like Peter Bayer, Mary Tisosky, and the others, they will also then come to the demonstration and call for freedom.
We will call them and we will tell them that's the last moment they have to join us. And hopefully they will agree to that, because yesterday I had a talk with one of the branches of SPÖ. We had a talk. I said, send my message and tell them that we will have this week a meeting. We will try to officially invite them, present what is the plan of Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi for the transition period, because the association of Nufti that is working directly with the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi has the booklet in English and in Farsi as well. This booklet is printed by myself, would be handed over to all political parties except the one that is working with Putin, FPÖ. And they have to read. They have to read what's the plan. Maybe they need more, time to digest that. However, they have received this via email. European Parliament received that by email, because we as an activist have the first obligatory task, making awareness. That's why we have done as our job, sending emails, sending the brochures, preparing them, telling them what's happening, sending awareness. But there are some people in the, Iranian themselves that they don't agree with the regime change and they believe in reform, We have such category of people. To them, I have to say, what do you want to reform after this massacre?
Let me understand, because our audience wants also to understand a little bit the different groups within the Iranian opposition. There's different groups.
Yes.
Yeah? You're representing basically the ones who are with Reza Pahlavi, and they are the big group. The majority of the Iranians here in Austria, they are supporting the Shah, the return of the Shah, and democracy, and I saw a big demonstration. But there's also a minority of MEK, it's called.
Yeah,
What's the
Mujahideen.
history of that movement?
See, the Mujahideen, they were on terror list in Europe, if you remember. They removed them. They decided not to put them on terror list anymore. The reason was these people were communists, and during the Iran-Iraq war, they killed Iranian. They killed us. They were having some ideology. They were with Ayatollahs in 1979. They were with them. And since they couldn't get the power, they were not in the power. So they left the country. They went to Iraq. They went to Saddam. They were located there, and they killed our people.
They are certainly not a representative
At
of the
all.
Iranian people.
That's
and
why-
they are a communist group with all the tragedy of their destiny, maybe, and of their fate. Yeah, definitely they cannot be seen as the legitimate representation of the Iranian people.
Not at all. And they're the one who are chanting in Farsi. They say, no to Shah, no to Sheikh. So our question is, okay, we agree with the no to Sheikh, of course, but why no to Shah? Why did you kill the people? Why did you kill us?
Why did you kill the Iranian citizen? And how do you believe that people will trust you? Even because they're like a cult, they try to mimic the lion and sun flag. Our lion and sun flag has one line on the bottom of the lion foot. They have two lines.
That's the official flag of the state
Exactly.
of Iran until 79 when Ayatollah Khomeini changed it.
Exactly. And this make people try to mimic the flag. That's why we had difficulty to tell the world that, hey guys, this is not the real flag, this is the flag. So it took us years of courage to educate the world till the time we reached this moment that we are talking freely about things. Because when we wanted to write article or publish something, there was like, oh no, this part, you don't need this part. Let's talk about this part, not that part. Today we are seeing what's happening. You as an Austrian, me as an Austrian-Iranian, you know that these people are terrorists. You know these people killed the Iranian. You say they're the minority. You as an Austrian understand that. And I hope some of the Americans understand that as well, like John Bolton, who's dealing with them, inviting them. He's presenting in their meeting. This does not give them legitimacy. Even the government of Italy talks to her a lot. And I'm asking them, okay, we remove them technically, democratically from terrorists, but does that deny the fact that they were terrorists and killed people? Can you trust such people?
Is there some kind of affinity of the Austrian left with that group? So they have the reason why the Austrian left-wing parties are not supporting the Free Iranian movement is because they have some affinity with that group?
We can assume. We don't know. We have to see. After presenting the plan, after saying how the future Iran would be, after telling them what is our destiny, you have to see whether they would take the steps.
Iran is a very diverse country as well, and the third group, which is important here, is also the regional representative of the minorities, the Kurds in Iran, the Arabs in Iran, and the Baluchs in Iran, also the Azeris are in Iran, the Turkmens, yeah, and they are also active in the Austrian community here and their representatives. And what's their position now on regime change?
Okay, this is a very sensitive topic. First point that we reviewed with each other was the territorial integrity. You remember that. And we are very particular about that. And any Iranian that you talk about a little bit of part of that border, they go crazy about that. This is a very top sensitive matter to the Iranian people. This is need to be understood that we have states like in the border that we have some commonalities with Turkey and Iraq, and they don't even speak the same language. You might call them Kurds, but the Kurd inside the Iran borders, they don't speak the language that they're speaking. They understand each other. They don't speak that, okay? This also, when we go the north of the map, go to the part of the Azerbaijan, that they're speaking also, there's a state called Tabriz. We call them Tabrizi, that they originally come from Tabriz, is inside the map of order of the Iran that you see in the border.
That's the second city in Iran, which overwhelming majority of people are from the Azeri minority of Iran.
Exactly. And these people call themselves Iranian, and they're majority. They say, there is a statement, we say we give our life to Kurdistan, Azerbaijan, Baluchistan, and then we go to Tehran. You know why? Because these are the borders needs to be secured. Why do you think people are not, that welcoming people to attack Iran, or they were supporting the groups that they're, somehow keeping this border intact? And every 47 years interview that the Crown Prince had, he said, this map on my heart that you see is the whole Iran, and the territorial integrity needs to be kept intact. And I tell you something about the Kurds. They had already a referendum years ago, if you read about it, in Iraq itself, they themselves didn't agree with each other how they want to regionally, locate themselves. And never ever the border inside the courts of Iran or inside never involved themselves in that so-called referendum voting system because they call themselves Iranian.
And these minorities inside Iran, are they also in open revolution and for regime change now in this 2026 situation?
In 2000, since 2000, if I was, instead of them to answer that, they would say, we've been in revolution since years. That's what they say. But in every uprising, you see they've been involved. From Baluchistan, you see people are involved. From Kurdistan, they're involved. And I tell you, this statement was repeated many times during the last uprising. From Kurdistan to Baluchistan, I give my life to Iran. From Kurdistan to Tehran, I give my life to Iran. These statements are not joke. The people come, get the bullet, shot, and they say, I give my life to the people of Iran, to the land of Iran.
So they are also in open revolution now against the Ayatollahs. They want to get rid of the Ayatollahs. What's the position of the Shah, of Reza Pahlavi now on the minority issue? Because there is the option to give them an offer of regional autonomy, federalism, or what is exactly the relation now between Reza Pahlavi and the 5 major minority groups in Iran?
If you remember, since 2022, the head of the Komola, Mr. Mohtadi, was in, they were all sitting at one table talking as a group with each other. And the disagreement is exactly that. Territorial integrity needs to be remain intact. I tell you something, Günther, I also seen in your tweets and some posts that people critique you for that. Austria or Germany, culturally, let's say, or system of the government was very democratic, maybe, let's say. I don't want to relate it to democracy, but people were ready to accept that I come from Steiermark. The other one said, okay, I'm in this Bundesland, like this state, the other state. And even in US, Iran as a country, because we have history, has never had this system, never practiced it. Even though we want to practice it, you cannot start with that because that leads to separation. That leads to, everyone's want to take part of that country. I've been in India. I've been living in India. India has also different states. I've been seeing this quarrel between states. I was in one state, which was, I was in city of Madras, and next to us was the state of Karnataka, was Bangalore. When they had fight, me and you have a fight, I was cutting water on you. It was like, I'm not giving you water anymore. The other one was, I'm not giving you electricity anymore. And it was a disaster and is a disaster yet. So this system also not working for them in a way, and in a way is working. And there have been years some states wanted to get separated also from India. And India also understands this shouldn't happen, although they have the system. So that's what I mean. India is also rich in culture, history, and we have a lot of bondings with each other as an Iranian. Some systems do not match the history and culture of that society, even though maybe at a democratic world is getting practiced.
But in the United States of America, we have Texas, Arizona, and all this. They are the constituents part of the, but they have a lot of autonomy, the federal states in the United States. And in Austria, as you, as Austrian-Iranian, know very well, we have Tirol, Vorarlberg, Steiermark, Upper Austria, very different actually in their setup, in the organization, still part, of course, of Austria and proud to be part of the European Union. Don't you think that if the Shah would give an offer to the regions, because the Afghans and the Baluchistan and people of the Kurds, they would respond very positively to a federal Iran offer where they have constituents, where they have also rights, their languages will be respected, like we do it in the European Union. We have Catalans, we have minorities of the Swedes in Finland. We have German speakers in Belgium. So we have a lot of this in European history, and we have found like a charter of regional languages and regional rights. And if the Shah would, or the Crown Prince, Mr. Reza Pahlavi, would give an offer to the Baluch and to the Kurds, to the Afghans, that they will be part of that new Iran and their rights and their culture will be respected, that they would rise together with him and topple the regime?
In your own statement, you just mentioned we have seen it historically in Europe. You refer to the history, right? And you have to refer to the Iran's history as well when you want to implement a system. The reason that the mullahs, just like a cancer or tumor, didn't survive, because to my opinion, they're over. That's why I say didn't. And I guess they can't anymore also survive, because the system historically didn't match the people of Iran. If US has the system and Europe has this system, I just told you, they've been working on it. They had the constitution law for it, right? They wrote it, people read it, they vote to it, they say, oh, let's do it. Then the political party came and they started the life. We don't have that chance yet. First, we have to take the regime back. Once we got the regime back, we are in transition period. We have to write the constitution law, definitely inside Iran. The Kurds, Baluch, Azeris, and everyone that are inside Iran, they will have their representative. Even, I don't like to call people, indeed myself, minority, because it's a little bit downgrading, but because people say Christian minority, Jewish minority, I call them Christians, Jews, even Muslims. These people that they are there, they will definitely have a political representative to write the constitutional law. Because we talked about secularism. No religious person would have their, influence on the politics. So if the people want to be politically active, they have to have their own political party, to have their own representative, so that they can talk about what they need in that state or in that city about it. But we haven't passed that period. We are still in the regime change period. Why don't they join Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi to topple the regime? Why the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi that presented his plan with the structure join them? They should join him. See, they are calling him because they trust him. I'm telling you, it's not just about the past or, let's say, nostalgia. It's about the system. Pahlavi is a system because Reza Shah made that system. His son, Mohammad Reza Shah, made that system. And now this is his son, he's making the system. And their daughters at the moment, they're trained for that since years. That means there is a system happening. It's democratic, and someone has a plan. Not that if I ask you, hey, there is a regime change, do you have a plan? You say, I don't have a plan, but join me. Maybe we can have a plan. This person has a plan already. We cannot risk it to go to people who have not prepared themselves past 47 years and they're, didn't even prepare a booklet of a plan, just for God's sake, just one paper. And you ask him with the system team people, join them. This is like politically a little bit insane. You know what I'm saying? You should go with the people who have a system. Why do we have a political party? We have Volkspartei, yeah? It's coming from the heart of the people. People accepted them. That's why they're a political party, right? So now we, the people, are the majority, and we are calling and chanting for return of democracy. We are asking for a democratic way of system of government. I don't know what happens in the next 100 or 50 years, but I tell you something, that at this particular moment that there is a regime change, if you bring up the topic that I want to become independent, I do believe that this would cause a chaos and a separation. That's what we are, emphasizing on territorial integrity. And one more point, there was a session 2 years ago in Austria, and there were some people invited as well. The institution that they are in, they're a member of 3 to 5 groups of people in one, and they say we are X, Y, Z institution. I asked an Austrian person who was conducting this session, I said, what's your idea about Tyrol getting separated from Vorarlberg? He was like, what? I was like, I'm just asking you generally, as an Austrian, what's your opinion? He said, but we are a country. I was like, this is also my feeling about Iran. But there, in your session, they're talking about separating part of Iran, and you are allowing that. Do you, like me, in Iran, open a session? You're in Austria, Iran is free, everything is fine. We invite some Austrians from Tyrol, from Steiermark, Vorarlberg. We let them conduct a session separating Tyrol from Vorarlberg. Would that be welcomed by Austrians? No way. Nobody would like that. And I hope you understand now. I guess right now you realize what's happening, because you are talking about a stable system that you already have and established it through history of Europe. And Iran has to make that history happen. We call Islamic Republic apprentice in a history, because we were never supposed to have a regime change of choice of people. No.
It's definitely a terrible accident, the 1979 revolution, and it should have never happened, but it was geostrategic actors who concluded, and then it was possible to have this terrible revolution of 79. Now in 2026, the hope is that this mistake of 79 will be reversed, and there will be democracy and human rights coming back to Iran, and then all the questions of future settlement and of future internal stability will be on the agenda very much. That's why it's important to prepare for this debate. But first of all, to come to that moment, you need to have international support. Let me ask you, what's your expectations when it comes to international support? Has the European Union already lived up to it? The big issue is, of course, to declare the Iranian Revolutionary Guards as a terror regime. And has President Trump, what's your hope on him? And do you hope that he will militarily support the Iranians in their struggle for freedom?
It is very important to understand that what we expect. We claim that we are democratic people, and we have a system, and we have a political party, and that's obviously there. I guess the minimum thing as an international community we could do is to listen and hear, not write our own narratives. In the last press conference and many other press conferences that Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi had, he said, I'm not here to write the history because, this is up to historian to write the history. I'm here to make the history. And I would also send the same message to our government and any other government in Europe. If we as a country want to make a history to undo what has been done in 1979, it's time to pay back the Iranian. It's time to stand with them, not that what we think is good. Already, some people thought that these people are good, and they were of no good. And I'd say something, you see, many people hashtags saying, your hands are stained with blood of our people. This is that serious. Because where are the Gaza, Lebanon, Palestinian freedom fighters writing letters and letters and letters of complaints to the governments, you have to save them? Where are they? Why the government support them, and why don't the government support the Iranian people? As we say, folks. Why don't they support the people? So I guess minimum thing we could do for them is to listen to them. This is exactly what Trump has done. Listen to the people of Iran.
Call for more solidarity from the European public with the Iranian people.
And I ask them to listen what people of Iran are saying. People are saying on the street, regime change in Iran, terrorists out of Iran. You heard that in the chantings. Yes. We are saying territorial integrity for Iran, and they chant freedom for Iran. They say secularism for Iran. They say freedom for Iran.
But let's now talk what the EU can do. Basically, the EU, as a European Union, we can further sanction and confiscate and punish the Iranian regime. This is one thing. Are you in favor of that?
If they do that, I would be very happy. We haven't also seen the punishment. I tell you something, Canada and US were leading countries who put IRGC on a terror list. We are years struggling to put the IRGC on terror list.
It has not happened in Austria and the EU.
No, not yet.
It should happen. You want that?
If this happens, it's good, but it's not the last step. Of course, everyone wants to IRGC as an entity, as a terrorist organization to be on the list because, IRGC itself is not one body. You have seen this octopus poster a lot on X. They are entities of IRGC.
They have also commercial activities seemingly in Austria. Are they already confiscated and stopped?
The answer is no.
That should happen as well.
That should happen as well. That's what I think.
The diplomats should be sent home.
The diplomats should be sent home. And I guess this week we start with expelling diplomats because it's time for it.
Very good. When it comes to American military intervention, which is on the agenda, it was already speculated there will be strikes at the beginning of January when this kind of Tiananmen-style massacre happened and the Iranian terror regime has killed 12, 18, 20,000, maybe more. We will find out, history will know in the future, but so many people were killed by Khamenei on his orders. And then the idea was that the American president will strike the Iranian tools of power, but he has not. Do you want such a military strike?
This is a very tricky question, but the answer is very crystal clear. We have seen evidently the attacks that happened in a few months ago for 12 days. You remember, we call it a 12-day battle. There were some messages coming from inside Iran saying Israel hit them. And many months before that, Israel kept saying the government is different from the people. They were sending several messages that people, you guys will not be harmed, you guys will not be targeted. Our target are the mullahs. People were scared. Of course.
During the 12-day wars, they were
Of course, they were scared. But although they were scared, they wrote on many walls that the photos came out, Israel hit them. What do you mean them? Means they're separating themselves from them. So nobody in Iran hesitate to say, kill them, hit them, And when the B-2 on the Fordo came, the B-2 on top of the Fordo came, I guess the Islamic Republic was also not predicting that the Americans would be on top of their skies and having the control of the country. But
it was a big surprise, this military victory of Israel and America. It was...
for people as well. And, if they wanted to harm people, they would have. But this is not their intention at all. Their intention is to really take down the mullahs. And, I guess there are a lot of critics against Trump in European, diaspora, that. But let's look at it that way. Trump is practicing democracy much more than anybody else. Do you know why? He had the chance to do many things. He warned them. They didn't take him serious. He hit Qasem Soleimani, head of the IRGC. During these 12 days, you have seen there were several shootings. And he showed them, listen, I can kill you guys, but I don't want, hand over the government, give it to the people. I guess Trump also is tired because you saw, he said it 2 days ago, they're maniacs. Because, he also reached to the level and said, okay, we cannot deal with them anymore. This is exactly what's happening in North Korea next.
Do you expect a military intervention?
At this particular moment, for targeting the government and the region to set the people of Iran free, yes. As Trump also made his peace committee, when we talk about human rights and peace, I'm really fascinated to see what Trump will do because He made his peace committee. That means he wants it to be peaceful. He doesn't want to harm anybody. He wants to keep the protocol
That's
of
for
human
Gaza.
rights. That's what we are
Bibi
reading.
Netanyahu has been basically advocating for a regime change of Iran since, I think, 79, I guess so, but as a leading politician in the last 30 years, now it's the time to do it. Why is he waiting?
There was a report I read last night. I guess maybe I also share part of it. There have been concerns regarding the number of the militant and how much help and aid is needed. They have been procrastinating that. That's why they have delayed it. Which, if I refer to this report, I guess it makes sense. Do you know why? Because they're not trying to invade a country. They don't want the territorial integrity, to be disturbed. It's a very sensitive operation. I guess we will see in the history. This is my expectation.
When the Americans intervene, potentially the Israelis will support them. What will be the European Union countries do? Will they support American liberation of Iran, or will they do similar like in Iraq in 2003? They will stand aside, at least the big countries, half of them. Will Europe be divided on that one? And where will the European public stand? With the regime change and the Iranians, or will they stand with the Ayatollahs and their intrinsic anti-Americanism and protest against American intervention?
I tell you something, this is up to NATO, honestly, to decide that. But on the second part that you say, the people, even right now, the people have decided that they don't want regime change, the Europeans. Because if you see in the demonstrations, the population of the Iranians that come on the streets, they have two flags, and hopefully and thankfully in Austria, we see now the Austrian flags alongside with us. They're showing the sign. Earlier years, we were just seeing our own flag, lion and sun flag. Then Israeli was added. Now you see the American flag. Now we see the Austrian flag. That is the solidarity.
Do you see the European and NATO flag at the demonstrations of the Free Iranians?
So far, no. So far, we haven't.
If I come with my NATO flag, I can raise the NATO flag at your
That means the
demonstrations?
support. That means the support,
I will bring it the next time.
Yes.
Because I'm very much for military intervention, and I'm fully in favor of regime change. And of course, in solidarity with the Iranians, all Europeans should demonstrate in favor of American military intervention to liberate the Iranians. But I'm doubtful, as we have seen in the case of Iraq, that the people will support that.
That is exactly why I'm saying this time is certainly different. Because Trump and his administration, unlike Obama, Biden, and everyone else, learned a lesson, especially from George Bush and what they have done that time. This is exactly, people are scared, saying, oh, Iran would be separated. And even, I tell you something, deep down, everyone are concerned about that. Nobody can lie about that. We are all concerned. So when you talk about intervene, this is exactly why I'm really particular about wordings. I call it an operation because sometimes you don't need to go with the old-fashioned method, to set some people free. Even when you come with your whole system around the country and you're surrounded, you have to give up and hand over.
The question is, when the Americans will intervene, will the Iranians rise and storm the state institutions?
This is a question.
That's the big question here.
That's a big
That's
question.
what I think in the
This
White
is
House
exactly-
Situation Room, they are also asking themselves. Maybe they will see our podcast and have the answer. But the question is, if you intervene and you don't have the army ready, because at the moment there is no American army in the Gulf to do an Iraq #2 operation. So the idea is you do military operation and then the Iranians themselves has to do the regime change. Will that happen? Is that technically possible?
This is exactly, I'm saying that we need to get actually educated on that part. past years, that because we are more involved in the situation, we know what's happening. Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi has been in touch with the system people who are not willing to work with them anymore since 1979. And he has insights and he knows what's happening. Past 1 year, part of his program was to detach the militant, the real militant, the patriots, those who really love Iran, territorial integrity and everything in Iran, to join him. And there have been over, this statistic is out, there have been over thousands of militant who has detached themselves from IRGC and joined him and sent letter to him.
So there's a break in the regime.
Yes,
Partly,
yes.
That's very good.
That's very good. No, that's the thing. People don't talk about that. In his press conference, again, he said that. He said, we are in touch. We know what's happening.
Fareed Zakaria, the CNN analyst, he has said now just this weekend that there is no signs of the Iranian regime crumbling, but seemingly there are.
You know, this is the narrative. I'm telling you, we should be careful because this has been happening past 47 years. Some of our journalists, some of our activists are making just propaganda, producing propaganda for the regime. I'm telling you, when it comes to a battle, it's very difficult because you get disturbed and you get a little bit confused what's happening, for at least someone who's not an Iranian, who hears it as an audience. I'm an American sitting on a couch and CNN is just, showing a report. I passed through it. I said, they're not ready for regime change. But the real game is happening inside the real diaspora. That's why there was a statement from Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi said, do not pay attention to those who are making you confused. Pass over and focus on the aim, our end game. That is a regime change. And let these people who are disturbing all of you to do what they're doing, and you focus on the game. And I believe he is a very good chess player because he had an interview years ago when he was young. He asked the interviewer, when you're playing chess, what is the last person who's playing in the chess? And the interviewer said, well, yeah, the king. Said, yes, the king. So, this is...
So the king will be the best player on the field.
Absolutely.
Shiva, let me ask you, many European policymakers, they are really like the generation who is now in power. They have experienced the completely collapse of Syria into the civil war. And then millions of refugees coming to Europe. And that's the horror scenario for most European politicians, another Syria. So there is, of course, Syria was a country we didn't intervene. In 2013, we famously, Obama had the opportunity to intervene. He chose not to. He let Russia intervene. And so it happened a complete disaster, as we have seen it the last 15 years, and millions of Syrians now living in the European Union. Do you see that if we don't intervene at the moment, and Iran could collapse into such a second Syria?
That is exactly, we are telling, opposite will happen. When I'm saying...
Of course, you have the Shah as an alternative in governance.
This is exact reason, but I add one more point to it. When I say we have to read the history of Iranian, is very different from Syrians, Iraqis, Austrians, or wherever. Some places on the geography, they had ancestors and they had background and empire, okay? In the nature and blood of those people, they care more about their country than leaving it. Mullahs, they forced people to leave. And even Khamenei, in his statement on Fridays after the prayer, had a very bold statement, said, if you don't like the country, you can leave. People were not leaving. I told you, I talked about my own family who came to build Iran. because they got educated to build Iran. They came, they didn't want them. They wanted their own people. They said, what do you mean? You want to, construct the country? What do you mean? You want to rebuild the country? Don't see that the modernization of the Shah was similar as what's happening right now. Right now, some stuffs are getting built just to be built to make money, but not for the people. So, why I explain that? We are not like Syrians. We are not like Iraqis. Not that, in this comparison, it's not in a bad way. I'm saying culturally we're different, right? And as you said, these countries got invaded. And as you said again, you have mentioned Obama, you said Russia. They invaded the country. And this time they won't intervene. This is different. Invasion is different. When you invade somewhere, you're directly telling people to run away. This is the reason we are saying no. We want to actually, this is, is reverse. We want to go back inside instead of coming outside. We're saying it is very horrible that our elites are outside Iran. We are almost roughly 8 million outside Iran. It's equal to Austria. We can be a country.
8 million Iranian diaspora in
Yes.
Europe and America.
Yes,
The whole world.
around the world.
Shiva, let me ask you about the nuclear weapon, because a lot of the efforts in the last 20 years have been going from the European side, not having nuclear weapons with the Ayatollahs. And that's, I think, most important. Don't you see the danger when President Trump doesn't decide to intervene now, and the Ayatollahs are now able to suppress the rebellion and basically stay in power? And then Khamenei, who will be the first thing he will now call into Russia or Pakistan or China or North Korea is to get a nuclear weapon. And within some months, maybe he will have a nuclear weapon. And then the Ayatollahs will have nuclear weapons and regime change is no longer possible.
This is exactly, you have to act now. That is what we are saying. Act now. It's getting too late. It shouldn't get late. This is exactly that IAEA was checking them. The agency was going there and having some, audit there to make sure they're not perforating over, the expected percentage, which was 60%, that they're using it for a medical use or whatever. We never believed that indeed, because there have been some, statistics that this is not getting, in a way, right way, and they're not obligated to what they have to do. Every scenario that you right now explained is possible if we don't act now. That's why I'm saying lighting a candle, standing by the women, playing with the card of feminists, saying woman life freedom. Honestly, it's over because we are all in danger. We have to accept the fact that a country cannot work anymore. And when the whole world tie, this bonding with each other and decide to cut it, it makes it much more easier even for Trump.
Iran in the last 20 years, or maybe even longer, was an exporter of terror all around the world. Yeah? They have been supporting the Hezbollah, the Hamas. They have probably been behind the 7th of October. They have been under terrible policies in Syria, in Lebanon, and with the Houthis, they have supported them. And worst of all, for the European perspective, they have been a key supporter of Russia and providing technologies and weapons and the Shahid drones to the Russians, which are killing since 4 years our Ukrainian brothers in a very brutal manner. Consistently, Iran is our enemy. So don't you think it would be in our European strategic interest to finally get rid of this enemy regime, which is hurting us in all possible fronts?
This is exactly what I'm saying. Since people say Iran regime, I would definitely say Islamic Republic. And I keep mentioning that you have to say Islamic Republic because Iran itself and the way people are thinking is very different from them. Because the Islamic Republic is killing their own people. I don't think they would have mercy to anyone else. And in a way, during the Obama administration, when the Hillary Clinton also was at the administration, In her book, she has written what they have done in Iraq and everywhere. I guess we have sufficient data of mistakes that we have made as a human being, not as a government. So when you bring it to the government scale, they know what's happening. They have much data than me, of course, because my data as an activist is the data that I have to read, analyze, and somehow insiders tell us what's happening. But the governments definitely have precise data what's happening at this moment. This is the moment we are wondering, what do they want to do? How they want to continue with these people? Because our countries are also getting in danger. Austria, Germany. How many policemen were stabbed in Germany? Many. And our
You
policemen...
mean stabbed by Islamist terrorists
Yes.
who are basically also
Yes.
at least indirectly or directly funded and ideologically supported by the Islamist terrorist regime of Iran.
Exactly. You were shocked beginning of this podcast when I told you one of our activists was killed on the German soil.
Yes, this is, of course, foreign governments should
This
not
is-
kill their citizens on our soil.
And this
Like
is not...
Russia is doing as well.
Yeah, this is not
regularly.
one case during the Massa Amini till now in Belgium. And now there is a precise report that Belgium also published it. There's a prize right now for killing the Iranian.
There's a price on the head of Iranian regime opponents?
Yes, at the moment. And we all know our lives are in danger. That's why I guess
You
sometimes...
expect your life is in danger as well here?
Indeed it is. Indeed it is, because yesterday that I just, had a speech on Sunday. I received a lot of live threats on X. And I know intentionally they said she's giving a speech like a Hitler, compared me with the Hitler Nazi because,
Hitler?
yeah, they called me...
How come this is totally out of context and crazy?
This is how they, make a scenario
These were
about you.
Iranians.
Yes, they were. I would say I don't call them the Iranians. These are the leftist Marxist communists of that timing, and these are the ones they actually hate Shah and the supporters of him in a way. No matter how much we try to encourage them to say you are Iranian, act as one, be like us, be an Iranian. But
You think also that the Iran government institutions in Vienna are supervising you and spying on you?
Of course, 100%, definitely. Because when you go on stage and give a speech and you are on media and you talk and you are responsible for many political activists and organizations that we are tightly working with each other, and you are close, when we all got invited 2 times to Munich in February and once in July, which all the diaspora...
Munich, this was the big diaspora meeting
Exactly.
of the Iranians.
Yes. Those who have...
You have been there.
Yes. February, it was coalition of the political groups. So we have been there as one of the coalited groups. That's how we are practicing democracy beforehand. We dealt with each other, everyone, and said, okay, we will work tightly, some certain groups, to support this regime change. Of course, your name is on the list. They see your face, on the camera and everything. And of course, my parents are inside Iran. They have received calls, threatened them, and they're scared for my life. And they know that I don't have any relation with my family since years because I don't want their life get in danger. So for me, it's very difficult not to talk to my parents. But I'm doing
Because
that.
they could be targeted by the regime.
Exactly.
Because of your political activism in Austria and in Europe.
Exactly. So this is the reason, I guess, we are risking our lives. Sometimes people say, oh, you guys are... This was the narrative of Islamic Republic, saying, you guys are sitting outside and telling people to make a regime change. You guys have no idea what's happening inside Iran. Your life is not in danger. This is complete disinformation. Our lives are in danger based on the scenarios we have seen. And normally, when we activists together go, we live together. So we don't go alone. We are attached to each other. We get update from each other, and we're trying to somehow protect ourselves in a way, and our family as well, and family members. So that's important.
The Austrian institutions are also helping you, protecting you, securing you, and making sure that the Islamist government representative, which are in Vienna on invitation and as our guests, as diplomats, that they behave according to the law and not touch any Iranian activists?
We can hope for that.
I hope Beate is watching this podcast, and also our government will make sure that you are safe.
That's what I hope for. Because when we chant and say we give our life to Iran and for the people, this is not a joke. Because, from 7-year-old to 70 years old, people are getting killed. These are not numbers. These are people of Iran, honestly. And you know it better than everyone because you read it on X. They're asking the families that they want to receive the body. Either you pay for the bullets and bodies, or we write their name as a defender of the Ayatollahs, as a Basiji, like a part of the IRGC. What type of method of democracy we're practicing? I don't know.
First, the state is killing the citizens in brutal manner, unarmed civilians killed by the police, which is meant to protect them. And then, if the families want to bury them, they don't get the bodies if they're not paying and signing off that this was not involved in the protest. This is the brutality on an extreme measure which the Iranian regime is using against the people.
That's exactly. It's also very critical for us as an Austrian in a moment, because our countries are also in danger. This danger, I mean, everyone wonder why the Israelis and Americans are just supporting this regime change or this revolution, and Trump truthed it and said, if people of Iran wants regime change, then let's call it a regime change. Because they know the level of the brutality, and they know, this is not about Iran. Just. It's about a system which has its own ties everywhere to go down, because they're sending these Islamists everywhere. They're brainwashing our people. And I guess you saw there is now a law would be implemented in Austria that with the headscarf. I told you, this is not just about a headscarf. We have to be careful what type of ideology are getting implemented and intervened in our cultural system. Because afterwards, respecting it itself to practice democracy was a chance given to the devil to do what they wanted to do. That's why this matter does not concern only the Iranian, it's concerning the world. America knows that better than everyone else, and Israel knows that better than anyone else, and I guess the Europeans should know that as well.
The Europeans, we believe in human rights and in democracy, freedom. This is the constitutional rights we have, and this is the framework of our society, the backbone, and we believe very strongly in that one, there's no doubt. But do you think that the European politicians believe as well in freedom and human rights for the Iranians?
I hope so.
They better should.
I guess so.
Should the Austrians and the Europeans call for regime change in Iran?
They should. They should, because they are the majority as well, close to our region, let's say. US is very far, but, we are in the middle as a Europe. And in a way, you have seen that yesterday they applauded in a European Parliament. Is a very good acknowledging, applauding for those who are giving their lives. But we need something beyond that.
Have
action.
they already invited Mr. Pahlavi to the European Parliament?
The letter has got signature, okay? But, we have 720 members, MPs. What was very interesting, the statement came out, Mr. Sebastian also just from Finland released it on his X. They said they are not inviting him because they believe he's intervening because he is the son of the Shah. And this is like we are choosing a side.
But Europe is on the side of human rights, democracy, and the people of Iran. That's our side.
This is
We are
exactly what
against
I'm wondering.
theocratic tyranny, and Iran, let's not forget, is our enemy on all fronts, from Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Russia, Ukraine. Iran is always on the wrong side and is clearly an enemy state in its current form. So it must be in our strategic interest to have regime change in Iran.
This is exactly why I'm saying it's getting too late. The sooner, the better. Because we cannot, as an Iranian, I would say, you cannot decide as a European this type of the system people want. And the European should understand we have to practice the democracy in a real way this time, not just for ourselves. We cannot sit in freedom and say others might have freedom or they don't have freedom. We shouldn't care. We should care because we're all in one planet. This planet belongs to all of us and we are living peacefully with each other. And I'm sure the more pressure President Trump is putting, European Union inevitably would go behind that. Maybe they want, as you said, they are scared of the previous experiences with Syria, Iraq, or everywhere. I would say this time is very different, and definitely, those MPs or those parliament members who are standing with us, I guess we should give them badge of honor, because I don't think they're doing it out of diplomacy or politics. I guess they're patriots as well.
Absolutely, they are patriots, and there's already clarity. The idea is, do you think also that the Austrian government should invite Reza Pahlavi to come to Vienna to make a speech in the Austrian parliament?
100%. 100%. And we've been trying to do that. Once it was happening, there was some change of plan during this process. And now we are pushing for it. And I hope very soon we will have him. And it's very critical to have him here because the last time his mother was there in the parliament. And I guess it's now the time that the son would come to the parliament and people see him who he is. Because
It would be a powerful sign that Austria is changing from the friend of the Ayatollahs, which we were for too long, appeasing this terrible regime. Now we are with this new pro-European government. We are part of the pro-democracy, pro-human rights group inside the European Union, and we are on the side of the Iranian people.
Absolutely. And I guess Germany many times had Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi on the soil, let's say, in the Union, right? He was several times in Munich, Hamburg, and in other places. Why not Austria? Just like any other state, why not Austria?
Mr. Reza Pahlavi will come to Davos.
This is what we are hoping for. He has to, I guess, instead of, one of the way of practicing democracy is instead of inviting them, they have to invite him.
Exactly, it would be logical.
Because you're showing the leader that,
Otherwise, they show they have actually invited the foreign minister. He's not coming, I think, but this was the total wrong move. And to the Munich Security Conference?
That's exactly I wanted to tell you. Last year, they took the invitation back.
Took them back?
Yes, and there were a lot of complaints from our sides telling them you already invited him and you took the invitation back. What is that? We were complaining. We were saying, what are you guys up to? At times they make tough decisions and then they step back. These step backs are part of the lobbying of the Islamic Republic influencing them.
They certainly use a lot of money and fear. They are threatening and they are buying the European politicians into this kind of miserable position.
Exactly.
This is unfortunately what the Islamic Republic of Iran has done now for 40 years, and it's appalling.
Yeah, he was there last year. I hope that they would have invited him this year. I'm hoping for. And last year also we were all in Geneva, and for the Geneva summit with Mr. Hillel Neuer as well. He had a speech there, very moving. It was very good because there were many human rights activists didn't know he was even active. They didn't know where he was. And he always had an interview. He said it also in the press conference. I've been always there. I've been active. Just imagine this sentence bringing one message: censorship. He has been under continuous censorship. And now the truth is out. We have to accept it. He has been active. He has been supporting the people even during the Iraq-Iran time. He sent a letter to Ayatollahs and said, I will come fight for our country. And what Khomeini told him, said, tell this boy to go get an education and live his life and never come back to this country. This was the message of Khomeini to him.
And now, hopefully, he is coming back and bringing democracy and freedom to his people. This is my 2-hour long podcast with Shiva, the leading Austrian-Iranian activist, fighter for democracy, fighter for the return of the Shah, fighter for freedom. I'm very honored that you hear this podcast at the beginning of 2026, and there will be this topic of freedom for Iran will keep us very, very busy in 2026. The year of freedom, the year of revolution, and if it's possible to have regime change, the world would be a much better place. Not just the Iranians will be much better off, but the whole world will be liberated from one of the most terrible regimes which we currently face in the world. This is the Islamic Republic's terror regime, which must fall, and hopefully, let's pray, will fall this year with the help of American intervention. Shiva, thanks a lot for your discussions here, for presenting a very personal and a very moving account of your life as well. Thank you very much for all you do for democracy and freedom in Austria and in Iran. Thanks a lot. Some closing statement from your side?
I would say long live Iran, Javicha, and hoping that Austria also join us, all the European Union, for democracy, and we show the world we care and we stay within the principles we have promised the world to keep them in our constitution law. And I hope soon all the Austrians would be able to visit Iran without having their lives in danger. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. And this was Shiva's appeal for the Austrian and European politicians to choose the right side of history, the good side of history, the Iranian people and freedom. Please, that's what I also fully endorse. Let's choose freedom and let's stand with the Iranian people and let's have the Shah of Iran return. Javicha.
Javicha.
Thanks a lot.